Hey, welcome back to Golden Blue Dude, everybody. And hey, if you're new to the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button. We just hit 5,000 subscribers. We have a big goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We can't do it without you. Literally, we need you to click that subscribe button. What we do here is college football and college basketball videos every single day. We don't miss a day. Don't forget to check out my Patreon page. We have a much wider variety from the $2 package to the $50 package. You can pick whichever one fits your specific needs. A quick reminder to send in your I am Golden Blue Dude or we are Golden Blue Dude into my email. My email address is refssuk@gmail.com. I will put that in the description of this video. We are going to make a mashup video because y'all see me and hear me every stinking day. So I think y'all deserve your own video. Today I wanted to talk about one of the most complicated things there is about college football. Rankings. I mean, what causes a team to get ranked? And what causes them to rise and what causes them to fall? I know the simple answer is wins and losses. But if you go back and look at the week-to-week rankings to rankings, some teams shot up way too high only to be knocked right back out. A nice roller coaster effect. I mean, it's very entertaining. I will give the AP poll credit for being entertaining. And yes, I'm using the AP poll, not the college football playoff rankings. That's a whole different story. I'm going to stay consistent and go with the AP poll. But it's really crazy. Is there an actual algorithm that they go by? Think about this. There were 47 separate teams that were ranked in the AP Top 25 at some point in the season. Some teams only got ranked once, and some teams were ranked in every stinking poll of every stinking week. But there were only 8 teams that were ranked in the AP Top 25 in every week of last year's college football season. And they were Alabama, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Georgia, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, Oregon, and Iowa. Nobody else was ranked every single week. Believe it or not, there was only one team that just missed 1 week, and it was that very first week. After that, they were ranked the rest of the year, and that was Ole Miss. There were 2 teams that were ranked all but 2 weeks of last year, and that was Texas A&M and Michigan. That's right, Michigan didn't even get ranked till week 3, but they were ranked the rest of the year. Now, Texas A&M, they were ranked, they started high, they got popped out, and they popped back in. I think that happened twice. Only 2 teams were ranked all but 3 weeks of the year, and that was BYU and Michigan State, and that's because they weren't ranked until later in the year. 2 teams that were ranked 12 weeks out of the year, and that was Oklahoma State and Wake Forest. 2 teams that were ranked 11 weeks out of the year, Penn State and Coastal Carolina. 3 teams that were ranked 10 weeks out of the year, and that was Baylor, NC State, and Arkansas. Only 1 team that was ranked 9 weeks out of the year, and that was Auburn. There were 4 teams that were ranked 8 weeks in last year's college football season. That was Clemson, Louisiana, Kentucky, and San Diego State. Then there were 6 teams that were ranked 7 weeks out of last year. That was Wisconsin, Florida, Utah, Pitt, UTSA, and Houston. 3 teams that were ranked 5 weeks out of last year's college football season. That was Iowa State, Arizona State, and SMU. 3 teams that were ranked 4 weeks, North Carolina, Texas, and UCLA. Just 2 teams that were ranked 3 weeks, and that was Miami, the Hurricanes. They just fell off the map. And then Fresno State, they were in and out and in and out. 2 teams lasted 2 weeks in the top 25, and that was USC before they got beat by Stanford, and Virginia Tech before they got beat by West Virginia. And then you had all the one and dones. You had LSU, Indiana, Washington, Kansas State, Purdue, and Utah State at the very last second. They weren't ranked the entire year, but got ranked at the last week. So yeah, rankings are crazy. They're hard to predict. You don't know who's going to get ranked, who's going to get knocked out, how far somebody's going to rise, and how far somebody's going to fall. But I took 1 team out of each conference and their division in the Power 5 plus the AAC who either didn't get ranked or was only ranked a very short time to see how big of a chance they actually have to get ranked this year. First up, we'll start with the AAC, and it kind of surprised me. UCF did not get ranked last year. They finished the season 9-4. I do think UCF has a chance to get ranked this coming football season. They have a decent recruiting class for a group of 5 team, and the start of their schedule allows them to potentially get ranked. If they mess up in their first part of their schedule, they're probably not going to get ranked. But they start off the season with a Louisville game at FAU and then Georgia Tech at home. So if they were to beat Louisville and Georgia Tech in that short span, I do think UCF gets ranked. Now, if they lose to 1 or both of those, they would need to go on a very long winning streak to get ranked because they're not in a Power 5 conference. Next up, the ACC Atlantic. We'll start with Louisville, the team that UCF is going to have to play. They finished season 6-7. Not a great recruiting class, but they do return a lot of what they had from this year's team. If Louisville is going to get ranked, it probably will have to be in the first half as well. On the road to UCF, then they get South Florida at home, James Madison at home, and then at Kentucky. So 2 tough road games, but if they can pull it off, they should get ranked. Because after that, at Boston College and at Clemson. Now they do get Pitt, NC State, Wake Forest, but then they have to go to Virginia. So Louisville's going to have a very short window in which they can get ranked. On to the Coastal. Virginia, they didn't get ranked. They finished season 6-6. I think they have a small chance of getting ranked this year, especially the beginning of their schedule. Richmond, at Illinois, Old Dominion, and Coastal Carolina. So not a brutal start, winnable, but those wins could be valuable enough to get them ranked. Especially a road win at Illinois, that's not a given, and then a home win against Coastal Carolina, who might be ranked if they were to beat them in Charlottesville. Because after that, they have road trips to Virginia Tech, Duke, Georgia Tech, and Syracuse. They do get Louisville, Miami, North Carolina, and Pitt at home. But that first stretch, that's their best shot of getting ranked. Now on to the Big 12. Kansas State, they finished season 8-5. They were ranked, I believe, just 1 week out of the entire college football season. And the first part of their schedule gives them an opportunity to get ranked as well. They get South Dakota, Missouri, and Tulane at home. And then at Oklahoma. And Kansas State is not scared of Oklahoma. They know how to beat Oklahoma. So if they run the table and go 4-0, I do expect Kansas State to get ranked. What about opportunities after that, though? Well, they get Texas Tech, at Iowa State, at TCU. It's tough to win at Imes, so you'd have to run that slate too if you were to lose at Oklahoma to get ranked. Then after that, Oklahoma State, Texas, at Baylor, and at West Virginia, and finish the season against Kansas. So there might be 2 short windows for Kansas State to get ranked. The biggest window is the beginning of their schedule. Now on to the Big 10 East. I'm going to go with Maryland. They finished season 7-6. Here's the start of their schedule. Buffalo, at Charlotte, SMU, and at Michigan. Now they can win those first 3 games, lose at Michigan, and it won't mean anything. They won't get ranked. But if they win those first 3 and beat Michigan, Maryland will get ranked. I know that's a tall order. What about opportunities after that? Well, they get Michigan State, then Purdue, at Indiana, Northwestern. So that's a 4-game slate, and their toughest opponents they do get at home. So that's a 4-game stretch where they also have an opportunity to get ranked. But the end of their schedule is tough. At Wisconsin, at Penn State, and Ohio State. So really, it's those first 2 stretches where they have the best chance of getting ranked. Now on to the Big 10 West. I'm going to go with Nebraska. They went 3-9, but man, they were losing games by razor-thin margins. I think they have a pretty good shot of getting ranked. First few games, Northwestern, North Dakota, Georgia Southern, Oklahoma at home. And I do think Nebraska is capable of beating Oklahoma at home. They do that, you're going to get ranked. But after that stretch, they get Indiana and at Rutgers, but then at Purdue. So that could break up that chance of getting ranked. And then Illinois, Minnesota, at Michigan, Wisconsin, and at Iowa. So it's that first stretch that gives Nebraska their best shot of getting ranked. I also picked out an independent team, and I'm going to go with Liberty. They went 8-5 last year. They actually packed their schedule pretty good. First games at Southern Miss, UAB, and at Wake Forest. Wake Forest, that's going to be a tough road trip, but it is still winnable. And if they do, Liberty might be knocking on the door of getting ranked. After that, they get Akron, at Old Dominion, at UMass, Gardner-Webb, then BYU at home, at Arkansas, at UConn, Virginia Tech, and New Mexico State. So the back part of their schedule is pretty brutal. I also picked out a team in the Mountain West. I forgot about that. Boise State. They went 7-5 last year. Their first 4 games do give them an opportunity to get ranked. They go on the road to Oregon State, then UT Martin, at UTEP, and BYU at home. So it's the Oregon State game and the BYU game that gives them a chance. But what if they lose both of those? Well, their home games are Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, and Utah State. Their road trips at Air Force, at Nevada, at New Mexico, and at Wyoming. They need to have at least a 10-win season to get ranked. So if they lose to Oregon State and BYU, they would have to run the rest of the table. And it is doable, but you can't trip up not one time. Now on to the Pac-12 North. I'm going to go with Washington, and this is a stretch. I admit it. They went 4-8 last year. Not too sure about the Huskies this year, but the start of their schedule is kind of doable. They get Kent State, Portland State, Michigan State, and Stanford all home games. Now I know Michigan State and Stanford, that's going to be tough, but being played at Washington, that gives them a chance. If they beat those 2 teams, Washington gets ranked. But what about after that? Well, at UCLA and at Arizona State. That could be a 2-game losing streak. After that, Arizona, at Cal, Oregon State, then at Oregon, then Colorado, at Washington State. So after that 4-game stretch, if they don't win those 4 games, I don't think they're getting ranked because there's a tough game placed exactly where it needs to be placed to keep Washington from getting ranked. Now on to the Pac-12 South. This is obvious choice. USC, 4-8 last year, but Lincoln Riley will infuse a great offense into USC. And yes, I think year 1 because USC has a lot of talent. How does their schedule look? Well, first they get Rice at Stanford. That's the game that got their previous head coach fired. I don't think they're going to lose that game this year. So I'm going to say they beat Stanford, then they get Fresno State at home, and then at Oregon State. Personally, I think with USC's brand and the opponents are strong enough to get them ranked. And that's if they're not already preseason ranked. What about after that? Well, then they get Arizona State at home, so that could add to it. Then you get Washington State and at Utah. That's what could break up the party. But that first 5-game stretch provides USC with an excellent opportunity to get ranked. But if it doesn't happen then, it's probably not going to happen at all. Finally, the SEC. We'll start off with the SEC East. I went back and forth between Tennessee and South Carolina. I think South Carolina has the bigger bounce back year, but I do think Tennessee has the better chance of getting ranked because of the way South Carolina's schedule is laid out. So last year, Tennessee went 7-6. Here's how their schedule looks. You get Ball State at Pitt. That's the game that could blow up their chances of getting ranked. But after that, they get Akron and Florida at home. And after that, at LSU, who I think will be improved this year, and then Alabama at home. So it's that Pitt game that will make or break Tennessee's chances of getting ranked, especially in the first half. What about the second half? Well, then they get UT Martin, Kentucky at home, and then at Georgia, another game that kind of breaks it up. Then they get Missouri, at South Carolina, and Vanderbilt. So there will be a few opportunities, but there's these games that are placed exactly where they need to be placed to break up Tennessee's chances of getting ranked. So I think that first half of their schedule is their best chance. And finally, the SEC West. I'm going to go with LSU, especially going out and getting Brian Kelly as their new head coach. Last year, they went 6-7. I think their schedule sets up to where they could get ranked. And LSU's first game is against Florida State in the Superdome. It's technically a neutral site game, but it's basically a home game for LSU, so that game is definitely winnable. But after that, they get Southern, that's an FCS team, then Mississippi State, then New Mexico at home. And I think that would be enough to get LSU ranked, especially with their brand. But let's say it don't happen. After that, they get at Auburn, Tennessee, at Florida. That is very tricky. They could easily go 1-2 there. They do get Ole Miss and Alabama at home, but those two teams are tough. And then they finish off the season at Arkansas, UAB, and at Texas A&M. Yeah, LSU's best opportunity once again at the beginning of their schedule. They have a slight opportunity in the middle because they do get Ole Miss and Alabama at home. Then a road trip to Florida, that's not all that bad, and they do get Tennessee at home. There's a 4-game stretch where if they're at least very, very competitive and only lose by a little bit, they could still get ranked. But the end of their schedule at Arkansas, at Texas A&M, forget about it. I don't know about that. So there you go, all the teams that either didn't get ranked or were only ranked for 1 week of last year's season that have the best chances of getting ranked this year. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments section. That's all I got for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.